Hello, hello. I just put us on recording. So welcome everyone. We're really glad to have you and we appreciate that you were able to get the new Zoom link. We had just a little Zoom error with the previous link, so we had to send a new one, and I'm glad you're here with us, Ritsime. And David, it's good to have you. And we'll be letting in a few other people. We had a really good group and turnout of folks that were looking to join us today. And since this is being recorded, so we can always send it back to you in case you want to rewatch it, I'll go ahead and introduce myself. My name is MJ Porches. I am a broker with Chapeau Properties, and I'm here with my partners that are supporting all of us that need to learn about the credit world. So to my left or right to you is Yvette Lara with Cross Country Mortgage. And then we have Daniela Torres, Danny with UQual, and she'll be taking most of this afternoon to share with us what's going on. But I just wanted to simply introduce myself to you and let you know that as a broker, it's super important for all of us as real estate professionals to share with people how to get started, and getting started in the responsibility of credit, understanding what your credit means, how important it is for you, how to raise your score, how to maintain those scores. And then if you've got some challenges with it, you might need some things that you need to look at by a professional to fix it. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to turn it over to Yvette. And Yvette, take it away, my dear.
Hi, everybody. I just want to say thank you for joining us today, and I hope that you guys find some value in today's class. Feel free to ask any questions as the presentation continues. Danny will answer your questions as they come. If you have any scenarios as well, please make sure you join in anytime, raise your hand or put it in the chat, and we'll be monitoring it so that we can answer everybody's questions as we move along. So now I want to introduce Daniela Torres. I work with her with UQual. She is a credit repair agency, and they also have a really nice UQual budgeting system that you can benefit from. They help us get our clients ready to purchase homes. So she will be taking over the presentation and teaching us a little bit about credit myths and tips that you guys can all benefit from. All right, Daniela, take it away.
Thank you, everyone. And I truly appreciate everyone being here today. The reality is that, there's so much out there about what to do, what not to do in regards to your credit. And everything we do for you is personalized. Everything I do with Yvette, everything I do for my team is with the intent to help you guys understand your credit to a different level. Unfortunately, when we go off to college, the first thing we see is just a booth with credit card vendors trying to get you to apply for a credit card without knowing how to properly even use it. The system wants you to have credits, but the system doesn't want to educate you on how to best use it. What are the tips? What are the tricks? What are the do's? What are the don'ts? And that's what I'm here to provide you guys. So if there's any specific questions, please let me know. Today we'll go over this towards the end, but because you guys are here today, everyone does get special promotion and offers. So pay attention to what we have to offer, because I guarantee you don't want to miss out on any of this. I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to share a presentation that I have with just a couple questions and the do's and don'ts of credit. So let me do this. Can everyone see my presentation?
Yes.
Okay. Can everyone see me as well? Excellent. Perfect. So the truth about credit scores. Let's start with one of the most important questions, like what is a credit score? A credit score is a 3-digit number that determines your credit worthiness. Are you able to repay back your debt on time and in full? That's what your credit score number determines. It's your credit worthiness. If accidentally you've forgotten to make a payment, the system doesn't like you. It stops trusting you. So the credit score is the number that Yvette's going to use to determine your interest rate and your approval. But it's also the number that other lenders and banks will use to determine if you qualify or if you're worthy of that specific product. There's different credit scores, and we'll talk about that, but let's understand how important credit is. There's different brackets of what your credit could be determined as. If you have anywhere between a 300 to a 630 credit score, that's considered bad credit. Anywhere between 630 to 689, that's fair. You can get qualified and sometimes even get, really good programs like down payment assistance with a 660, 640. Good credit score is 670, 719. And then excellent credit is a 720 to an 850 credit score. Don't feel bad if you don't have excellent credit scores. Nobody really does. And if somebody has perfect credit scores, they've worked really hard to get there. If you have a 600 credit score, there's opportunity for improvement. And most likely you just had little hiccups on the road because you didn't know what to do. So let's get you to excellent credit, and it does take time. What are some of the things that people ask me, like, Danny, what's my real credit score? Because I looked at my Credit Karma today and it said I had a 700 credit score. When Yvette pulled my credit, she said I had a 580. I don't think she's right. I think my Credit Karma is telling me the truth, but it's not. Credit Karma is a free platform that provides you an algorithm that is based on the last 2 years of credit history. Just so we all are aware, the credit system, more specifically for mortgages, looks at the last 7 years. So when Credit Karma is only looking at the last 2 years and you have a late payment from 2020, Credit Karma doesn't care about it, but your lender will, and your credit bureaus will as well. Now, there's different algorithms. If you're trying to buy a house and we're talking about $500,000 mortgage, that's a higher risk than a $300 credit card, because if you don't pay back on the $300 credit card, it's only $300. If you don't pay back on your mortgage, that's $500,000. They're not going to kick you out of your house right away. It's a completely different legal process, and therefore it's a higher risk. Lower credit scores will always reflect on the mortgages because the risk is significantly higher than even an auto loan. Anyone can get an auto loan. The reason for it, if you don't pay back, you wake up one morning, your vehicle is gone. It's repossessed. They didn't steal it. I actually had a client tell me, Danny, I was terrified. I thought somebody had stolen my car. I actually went to the police. I filed a report. And a few hours later, I realized that my bank took it back. But I didn't know they would find me because I moved out of state. I drove my car right across to the next state, to Texas. But they found me and they took my vehicle. The reason for it? It's a lower risk. They can't just take your house, right? So take the credit score number with a grain of salt, because what you see on your Wells Fargo app for your FICO, what you see on your Chase Bank for your FICO, what you see on your Credit Karma will always be different from what your mortgage lender is going to see. Now, let's talk about credit cards. One thing I hear often is, if I pay my credit card multiple times in a month, I get more points. It increases my credit scores because I'm making multiple payments. Well, when you think about it, how many bank statements do you really have? How many on-time payments do you have to make in a month? So just because you're making multiple payments in 1 month for one credit card, it's not going to give you more points. To break it down for you guys, the specifics of how the credit card system works, credit cards are 30% of your credit score. This is a lot. And if you only have one credit card open, that's going to be 30% of your credit score. If you spend over 30% of that one credit card limit, so if you have a $300 credit card and you spend more than $90, because you're spending over 30%, that specific credit card's going to start reducing your credit score. If you have 2 open credit cards, each credit card's gonna be 15% and 15% of your credits. On-time payments is the same logic being applied. On-time payment history is 35% of your credit scores. So just because you're making more payments, you're not gonna get more points. You have the responsibility to pay once a month, at least the minimum. If you pay more, even better, but you're not gonna get more points for making multiple payments. The system doesn't think about it that way. You only had one responsibility. If I tell my bank I can't pay my bills this month, it doesn't hurt my credit scores. That's not true. The bank doesn't care. You can call Wells Fargo today and say, I'm sorry, Wells Fargo, but I got laid off. I can't pay my credit card. Can I pay you next month? They don't care about your specific situations. They're a multi-million-dollar company whose job is to collect money. And if you don't pay, they like it even more because they charge you interest rates, they charge you late fees, they drop your credits. They love it. That's why they don't want you to know about your credits, because they benefit from taking your money as you lack of knowledge. So if you tell your bank you can't pay your bills, they're gonna say cool things. That's gonna hurt your credit scores. So make sure that you're budgeting in all your monthly responsibilities and set up auto pay. Even if you don't have $25 to pay on the minimum payment on that specific credit card, you still got to pay it. So if you set up your auto pay, it will prevent your credit bureau and your credit card to report you late. It could overdraft your bank account, your savings or checking, but that doesn't get reported on the credit bureau level. Checking accounts and savings accounts, they don't report your overdrafts. If you overdraft your checking account by $1,000 and they close it and you never pay them, they will hurt your credit score because they will want their money back. But setting auto pay and overdrafting your account is not going to hurt your credits, but it will benefit your credit card payment history because you made an on-time payment. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. So it's not about, hey, Danny, my best friend told me that she had 10 open credit cards and I only have 1. So I figured that if I open 7 more, my credit's gonna be better. Well, that's not true because it's not about quantity. It's about quality. 1 credit card's all you really need. If you have 2 credit cards, just know how to properly use them and just know that because you make multiple payments, it's not gonna help you more. Credit cards have different statuses and we can visualize them here. So when you have a credit card, you open it, you're making on-time payments, everything's good, you keep a low credit card balance, it's building length of credit history, it's helping you. As soon as you stop making payments, the system's like, hold on a second, Yvette. What do you mean you can't pay your bills? I don't like this. I'm gonna report you late, which is anywhere between 50 to 150 points off your credit. I had a late payment myself and I wasn't late, just for the record. I was short $5 because on-time payment is full dollar amount that you owe on the due date. I was short $5, $10, I can't remember. I was short, I didn't pay in full, so they reported me late. My credit score dropped 89 points. Never in my life have I had a late payment. But because I've never had a late payment and now I have one, the system penalized me more. It thought something happened in Daniela's life that she can't pay her bills and maybe she's not going to pay another lender. So it dropped my credits. And if you stop paying on your credit cards, the creditor is going to say, I'm sorry, Daniela, but I'm going to close out your credit card. When a credit card's closed, so let's think about $1,000 credit card with Wells Fargo. They closed it. They closed it because you didn't pay them or they closed them because you spend too much money. They gave you $1,000 and you spend 2,000. They didn't like it, they closed it. They can do that. Well, if you have a closed credit card, that's going to show us a maxed out line of credit on your credit report. And anytime you spend over 30% of each credit card, the system penalizes you. So what happens when you're spending 100%? That's a huge penalty. So you have $1,000 credit card that's closed. You talk to the creditor, say, Wells Fargo, I'm so sorry. I'm going to start paying you. Great. You start making payments. Even if you only have $1 balance, that's all you have left. That's all you have left to pay them back. Because it's closed, it's going to show us a maxed out credit card until the balance is gone. Maxed out credit cards, it's a no-no. System doesn't like it. This is what your credit's going to look like. So you maxed out a line of credit, they closed it out, you have late payments, it's not in good standing. What happens if you don't pay it while it's closed? They're still giving you an opportunity. They're like, hey, let's see if Daniela can pay me. Daniela doesn't pay because Daniela doesn't care, or Daniela cannot afford it. I don't have a job. They're going to charge it off. They're going to find a way to make money off of it. They're going to write it off as a loss. They wrote it off, but now you have a charge off. A charge off is the worst penalty you can ever have. It's saying, I gave you the option to pay me. I gave you the time to pay me. I gave you the opportunity to pay me, and you just didn't do it. Charged off accounts hurt you the most. They may not be a roadblock to getting home loan ready. Yvette can still qualify you with a charged off account, but you're not going to get the best deal if you have a charged off credit card. It's not necessarily a roadblock, but remember how credit scores determine your interest rates. So just think about that and think about how the system looks at you. I mean, if I let Yvette borrow $1,000 and she says she's going to pay me $100 every month and she doesn't pay me, I'm never going to let her borrow money from me ever again. So I just don't trust Yvette. So don't ask me for money. You didn't pay me. Should I do a debt consolidation program if I can't pay my bills? Like, is that something I should do? You know, I can't pay my bills. I heard there's programs out there that can help me. Let me tell you the truth about debt consolidation programs. So you have $20,000 in debt, personal loans, credit card loans. You just have a lot of debt. A debt consolidation program is you giving them power of attorney. They have power over all your debt. You make small payments. Let's say it's $500 payments for 5 years. They consolidate all my debt. What they're really doing is that they're putting all those $500 every month that I paid them, they're putting it in a separate escrow account or in their pocket to make it more visually. They put it away. They put it away. They can't pay back $20,000 with $500 you're giving them. It doesn't work that way. So they're taking your money up until they can collect enough to pay or settle your debts. During that process, what they're doing is that they're closing your credit cards. They're slowly defaulting on your debt because when it's in the worst status, that's when they can settle. So if Yvette says 3 years later, she hasn't paid me back my $1,000, I remember Yvette, you didn't pay me. And then 3 years later, she says, hey, Danny, I have $500 today. Remember how I owed you $1,000? I'm going to say, oh my God, Yvette, you're back. I thought you were dead. Yes, I'll take your $500. It's much better than $1,000 that you didn't pay me back for 3 years. Yes, I'll take your $500. But it took 3 years for her to come back to me. So that's what debt consolidation program is going to do for you. They're going to take your money, they're going to store it, and until they collect enough funds, that's when they start negotiating on your debt. That's something you can do on your own. You don't have to get a consolidation program to pay your debt. To pay your debt, like you're hurting your scores during the process. They don't tell you this specifically, but it's in the little fine print. So when they stop making payments, because they have to stop making payments, they're waiting years so they can settle on the lower balance. Did that help your credit? No. Did that help your finances? No. That's something that you could have done on your own without paying a third party to do it. If you have questions about how to consolidate your debt, ask Yvette, ask myself. Banks have programs. There's a program called Financial Hardship Program. And it's a program that banks have internally to help you lower your interest rate and your debt so you can repay them back without hurting your credit score. So think about what your goals are before making any decisions about not paying your bills, because if your goals are to become a homeowner and build financial wealth through real estate, doing a debt consolidation program is not going to help you. Should I close my credit cards then? Like, what happens when I close my credit cards? Well, when you close it, you lose everything about it. So let's think about a client that has, or you guys, that may even be you. It's actually me. I have a Victoria's Secret credit card. I've had it open for 10 years, very long time. When I close it, those 10 years that I've built positive history for, it's now gone because I don't have it. You can't give me points for something I don't have. So it doesn't help your credit. If you have your oldest credit card and it's also Victoria's Secret and you just don't want to shop there anymore, don't close it, because closing it, even though you don't like that credit card, it's not going to help your scores. If you're closing it because they're charging an annual fee and it's your oldest credit card, maybe just paying the annual fee may have to do the trick, because your length of credit history, it's 15% of your credit scores. So if you're closing on your oldest accounts, you're reducing that length of credit history. To give you a better example, my 10-year-old credit card, and then I opened one credit card today, and the length of credit history is an average of how long I've been building credit. That means that my 10-year-old credit card plus my brand new credit card today, I had 10 years of credit history. But because I opened a credit card today, my length of credit history just got divided in two. It was 10 years plus 1 month divided into 5 years. And then if I close my 10-year-old credit card, my new length of credit history is now just 1 month. The system wants you to have at least 7 years of credit history, which is why it's so hard to have perfect credit, because if you open new accounts, if you open a new auto loan, if you open new trade lines, that lowers that number. I don't need to worry about my credit scores until I'm older then, because that's when it matters, when I'm 50 and I want to buy a house. That's not true. You want to start building your credit as soon as you can. See, if you have kids, if you are a mother and you have a 18-year-old kid who's about to go off to college and doesn't know how to build credit, maybe you could add him as an authorized user. I have many clients that I used to work at a bank, and I remember recommending this back then as well. It's like, hey, open a savings account for your kids, even if they're newborns. Add them as authorized user on your accounts. Now, if you're the kind of parent that doesn't pay their bills, their credit cards, and you're adding your kids on your credit cards, you're doing them no good, because they acquire everything that you have on that credit card. So make sure that it's at an account, that it's been paid on time, that it's been open for a long time as well. But if you have no credits and you're 50, maybe being added as an authorized user could help you acquire the 50 years that you didn't build history for your own. But you don't have to wait until you're 50. You can start building your credit now. Oh, looks like I wish I would have that known earlier in your life. Yep, I agree, Nancy. These are things they don't tell you, but I have all the knowledge. So if you have questions like that, let me know. Hold on. Okay, there you go. Is there a shopping window? What is a shopping window? So when you're trying to buy a house, which is ultimately what everyone's here to do, the system does a hard inquiry. They're mandatory, they're necessary. Yvette cannot qualify you if she doesn't do a hard inquiry. It's impossible. Hard inquiries have a little penalty. It's somewhere between 2 to 6 points off your credit. Every time, that's why applying for new debt may not be helpful, because every time you apply for new debt, like a credit card, a mortgage, an auto loan, it's a hard inquiry, and that's 2 to 6 points off your credits. When you're buying a house, there is a shopping window, but it's only 14 days. That means that if I go see Yvette today, I only have 14 days to shop around with another lender. I don't know why anyone would ever want to do that, because Yvette has all the best programs. She's actually giving you guys a really cool offer today, but even if she weren't doing that, she has the best products. Cross Country Mortgage has been around for so many years, and they're #1 for a reason. So there's no reason for you to shop around. And that doesn't mean that because you apply for a mortgage with Yvette, you can go apply for 5 credit cards because there's a shopping window. They're different lending products. We're talking about a mortgage, an auto loan, and a credit card. They're completely different. So it's a shopping window per each department, per each account that you're trying to open. But you shouldn't be doing that anyways because you have Yvette. So just be aware of that. There is a little shopping window though. And how many points are you penalized? So if I'm doing hard inquiry today, that information will stay on record for 2 years. So for 2 years, anyone that looks at your credit will know how many times you apply for credit. If you apply for too much credit, the system doesn't like it. The system thinks, why is Daniela applying for 5 credit cards when all her credit cards are maxed out? She must need money, and I don't like it. So if I'm doing multiple inquiries that will stay in the system visually for 2 years, however, the penalty is only for 1 year. The penalty will vary based on how many times you're doing it. The system makes it fair. So if I'm only doing 1 mortgage inquiry a year because I'm an investor and I want to buy a property once a year, well, I'm probably going to be penalized a little bit on the higher end because I'm doing just 1 inquiry a year, probably 5 to 6 points. But if I like shopping and, I like Macy's credit cards, I like JCPenney credit cards, I like all those fancy store credit cards, every time I apply for them, it's going to be 2 to 3 points. Because I'm doing it so often, the system tends to penalize you less because you're doing it more. Does that make sense? Okay. There is a question in the chat. It says, is there an age to add him as an authorized user? It depends on the bank. So Wells Fargo, you could add them as an authorized user as soon as they became teens, 16. Each bank has their own specific guidelines, but for the most part, they do have to be teenagers or over the age of 18. Paying my debt erases them. So have Allstate insurance. Through the pandemic, I stopped driving, so I didn't pay back Allstate. I wasn't driving. Why would I pay for an insurance that I wasn't using? So they took me to collections. Who would have thought that if I didn't pay my bills, they took me to collections, but they did. But I wasn't driving my car, so it wasn't fair. But I still needed insurance, so I have insurance. Sucks. So if I think, well, if I just pay back Allstate, it's going to be gone. I paid the debt, I paid them back. It was only $500. It doesn't matter now. They got their money back. It's all good. The system doesn't think about it that way. When you have a collection, that's coded 9. It's a really horrible stain on your credits because it means that I didn't care to pay back my bills. Collections are penalized for 7 years. And the 7-year penalty starts on the day of the last activity. So this collection account from 2021 during the pandemic, that's when they took me to collections 2 years ago. I hate them. Oh, I paid them though. My collection went to collections February 2021. I paid them February 2023. Well, I paid the debt. So it's got to be gone. It's not on my credit report. Yvette's never going to know about it. That's not true. What I realistically did, which I didn't know, is that when I made a payment, it restarted my 7-year penalty because making a payment is what? An activity. And it's 7-year penalty based on the day of the last activity. So when I paid on my debt on February 2023, I just restarted that 7-year penalty and my credit score went this way. Instead of going, because I did the right thing, the system's like, great, thank you, Danny, you paid me back. But it's going to be a $0 collection for another 7 years. So paying off debt may not help your credits. And paying off debt could potentially now drop your scores from a 680. You can't buy it. I mean, you were able to buy a house at a 680, but now you went to a 580, and maybe that's no longer an approval because you lowered your credit scores by trying to do the right thing. The right thing doesn't necessarily mean the right outcome to your credits. The right thing for me is to pay on my debt. I agree. I should have paid on it because I did owe them money, but it doesn't mean it helped my credits. And now I can't buy a house anymore. So just before you make any payments, before you do anything, talk to a specialist, because I don't want you to use money that you don't have to pay on collections that you don't need to pay and then lower your credit scores. So you no longer qualify. My job is to make sure that I'm helping you save money, increase your credit scores, and lower your debt. Because lowering your debt will get you to a better purchasing power. But paying collections is going to do that, but it may not help your credit. So just be careful. And we do have a question, tips, advice after a bankruptcy. So a bankruptcy on a credit bureau level, it stays on your credit for 10 years. So think of your credit as your history of everything you've done with money. And when you file bankruptcy, it's a 10-year penalty on the credit report. It does not mean that for 10 years you can't buy a house. That's not true. If you file for bankruptcy, it's because you literally just couldn't pay your bills and you had to do something about it. The system doesn't like you just had to do something about it. I forgave all your debt. You filed Chapter 7, all your debt was forgiven, but now you're penalized with a bankruptcy, which lenders prefer to not see. If you knew somebody just didn't care about their debt, you'd be like, oh, I don't know if I want to lend money to someone who doesn't pay their bills. They're just going to do it again. Because the system thinks of your activity as a pattern. If you didn't pay your bills back in 2020, who says you're going to pay them now? You have a record of not doing that. However, you can resurface to the light and to the better credit scores after a bankruptcy. And Yvette can actually talk a little bit more about this, but there are programs that after a year, 2 years of filing bankruptcy, you can buy a house. You can still buy a house. You just got to make the right moves. Definitely open a credit card. A secured credit card might be best, because if you filed for bankruptcy, lenders may not want to give you credit anymore. So starting with a secured credit card may be the right product for you. Message me privately. I'll talk to you a little bit more about specific products like OpenSky. OpenSky is a credit card that doesn't care about your credit scores. They don't care about your current situation. They don't even pull your credits, but they will give you a credit card if you give them a small security deposit of $200. So best way to rebuild your credit after a bankruptcy is to start to open a secured credit card. $200 is fine. It's not about the limit. It's about how much money you're spending from the limit. So on the $200 credit card, don't spend more than $60. If you get it for $1,000, don't spend more than $300. It's all about the percentages you're using. But secured credit card would be a great start. Oh, this slide. Credit's not one size fits all. And that's why I want to emphasize on how important it is to talk to a specialist. We all have unique fingerprints. Twins have unique fingerprints, unique social securities. So I can't just, because my sister told me that she opened 5 credit cards and it really helped her. Well, doesn't mean it's going to help me. I have 10 open credit cards. They're all maxed out. They're not even going to approve me for a credit card. So everything's very unique to your own needs. However, there are some basic or simple tools and resources to follow. Set up autopay. You got to pay that monthly payment, whether you like it or not, whether you have the funds or not. You're going to have to make that payment. If not, your credit's going to do this. So set up autopay. Keep low credit card balances. Ideally, this is for mortgage FICO credit scores. So if you're going to go see Yvette, ideally, I would want you to have no more than 6 to 10% balance on each individual credit card. The system does not like zeros. The system doesn't like to see all your credit cards in zero. And also, talking about credit cards, if you have 5 open credit cards and you're only using 2 out of the 5, there's 3 credit cards that you're not paying on time because there's nothing for you to pay. So you can't get points for doing something that you're not doing. I can't give you positive remarks, positive history, positive on-time payment history on the credit card you haven't used in 6 months. Those are 6 months of on-time payments that you're missing out on 3 different credit cards because you're not using them. I am not saying go to Walmart and start shopping. All I'm saying is the system wants you to show them that you can use the credit cards properly. And for mortgage FICO, 6 to 10% is the ideal balance on each credit card. If you spend more than 30%, that's when the system starts penalizing you. Someone said, if someone's using more than 30% utilization, but pays off the full balance on the due date, does that help or worsen the credit scores? So Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo pays, and all lenders, they pay a huge fee. It's a membership, basically, to the 3 credit bureaus. There's 3. Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, right? The bureaus, their job is to give you a credit score and report what Wells Fargo is paying them to report. Wells Fargo is saying, Yvette pays all her bills on time. Give her points. Yvette hasn't used her credit card. Don't give her points because she's not using me. That's what they're saying. Now, you only have one due date. Wells Fargo reports your balance typically once a month. Typically is the first business day of the month. So today is the 28th. Today, I have my credit card maxed out. I paid all my bills. It's maxed out. But I'm just gonna pay it next time I get paid. Like I'm gonna pay it next month. Well, if I'm unfortunate enough to have Wells Fargo report to the bureaus what I have my balance as in today, the bureaus are gonna have a maxed out credit card until Wells Fargo tells them that my balance has lowered. So even if you're using your credit cards to the maximum, if you're using more than 30%, if you're unfortunate and the bureaus get information that your credit card's maxed out, that's what your credit score is going to be. So I wouldn't recommend maxing out your credit cards because the system thinks about it this way. Every month, Yvette has to rely on her credit cards to pay her bills. She must not have money. She doesn't make enough money to pay her utilities. She doesn't have enough money to pay her groceries. She has to rely on debt, on credit cards to pay her monthly responsibilities. Oh, I don't like that. As opposed to, I gave Yvette $1,000 credit card. That woman only uses 100. I'm going to give her more. I'm going to increase her line of credit because my ultimate goal as a financial institution is to get her into debt. So I'm going to increase her line of credit because she's not using enough. I need her to use more. So the less you use, the better. On a month-to-month basis, the system keeps that information. And if you tend to have a lower balance, they're probably going to give you a little bit more points. I'm not saying 100 points, maybe just 1, 2, 3 points more because you've consistently kept low credit card balances. Anyone can win the lottery and pay their credit cards in full today, but your behavior reflects otherwise. The credit system's about behaviors. It's about patterns. So if you max out your credit card month to month, the system would never like it, even if you pay them in full every month. But if you keep low balances, the system thinks, she doesn't need my money. I must give her more so she can get into debt. Eventually she will, because they owed you. That's what they do. I hope that answers your question. Should I use them periodically or every month? I would recommend every month, because every credit card, every product gives you points. Again, I'm not saying go out and spend money unnecessarily, but just play around with your credit cards. This is level expert, which is where I want to take you all. I want to take you to the level where you have 5 credit cards and we can say, this credit card gives me points for groceries, so I'm only going to use this credit card for groceries. This credit card gives me points for gas. I'm going to use it only for gas. Play around with them. There's fancy credit cards out there that if you use them the right way, you can even get a free round trip to Miami because you use them properly. So, but that's level expert. Level basic is just using them the best as you can. Tip number 3, don't open unnecessary debt. Why would you get into more debt if you don't have to? I hear people say, well, Danny, they told me I needed a personal loan to have better credit scores. Who said that? Everything's unique to your needs. So don't open new debt just because you heard someone say that it helped them. Opening new debt will increase your debt to income. So if you make $5,000 a month and now you have another monthly responsibility, that ratio doesn't really look so great anymore, because now you have another monthly responsibility to pay just because you wanted better credit scores. That didn't happen. And then tip number 4, monitor your credits. And this is something that I'm sure Yvette will back me up on. Like, how many of you guys don't even know what your credit score is? How many of you guys don't even know you have collections? How many of you guys don't know you have a late payment on your report from 4 years ago because Credit Karma was not calculating that in? Most of my clients, not saying you guys, but most of my clients don't know what's on their credits. They don't have the tools to know where to actually see their credit scores, because why do you think we don't see bank robberies anymore? When was the last time we saw like a real legit bank heist? Hasn't happened in a long time. The reason for that? Cell phones. You plug in your cell phone at the airport, you're charging it with the public charger that's available to millions of individuals. What you didn't know is that the charging port was connected to a device that was stealing all your information, and you didn't know about it because you don't monitor your credit, and you went to see Yvette to buy a house. I never opened that credit card. I know you didn't. It was identity theft. You plugged in your cell phone at an airport 3 years ago. They stole your information. You didn't know about it. So monitor your credits. And then if you guys are interested in a free consultation, free consultations today for everyone, so we will be providing that. But anyone that's interested in getting their credit to where it needs to be, my job's to help with your credit, help you understand how to budget, help you understand your debt to income ratios, and create a personalized game plan that protects your identity, but also gets you to the closing table with your preferred lenders, Yvette, and MJ as your realtor, who's providing $1,000 of credit for your closing cost. Yvette's putting $500 towards your appraisal, which I think it might have been the other way around. Yvette's doing $500 towards appraisal. Yes, okay, good. MJ's doing $1,000 for credit for closing costs. And if you want to get started with the Uqual platform, it's only going to be $49. So it doesn't get any better than this to get you into a home today. Because the longer you wait, the more you're going to have to pay. Think about your mom and dad that bought a house 30 years ago for $50,000, and that property is worth $500,000 now. That could be you. You just need to take the right steps.
Oh my gosh, that was awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome.
Very good.
It's awesome because not only do we all love short, sweet, and to the point, who doesn't? It's short, sweet, and to the point, but there's so much more to credit, Daniela, right? Then this is the beginning of the understandings of credit. It's the beginnings, and there's so much more that Yvette can share with us. Yvette, can you follow up with just your amazing value that you bring from Cross Country Mortgage, and just some tidbits for everyone and anyone who's watching about credit? They're here for a reason. They want to know, how to start their credit. And they just learned that from Danny. Maintaining your scores. Once you do get that score, there's the importance of maintaining your score, but then, looking at your credit report and learning how to read it and understand it. So go for it, Yvette.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Thank you again for coming. Yeah, so just, quick little things that you guys should be mindful, like Danny said, definitely very important to check your credit once a year. You need to know where you're at. Your credit is going to help you get into a rental property. Sometimes jobs look at your credit. You can apply for more, higher limits, better interest rate as, you establish that credit with your credit cards. Eventually buying a home, all of these things are going to benefit you in just living in America. It's part of the dream, and getting that home is, building up to that point. So I really think that this is really important. And I know we have some young folks on here, and I just want to say thank you for joining, because you guys are the future and you guys need to learn this now so that you guys can, start thinking about that future and start thinking about what you need to do. So if you guys have any scenarios or questions, I'm going to leave it up to anybody who wants to unmute themselves and ask anything that you guys want to ask about homes, about real estate, about credit, anything open.
Yeah, open mic. And go ahead, Nancy, you have a question?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, Danny, you had mentioned about multiple cards and just making like small payments, keeping it pretty low each month, which is awesome. But you also mentioned Credit Karma is not really, and I've always gone by Credit Karma because I just get that app. And so you're basically saying that that's really not that accurate. They only use the last 2 years as opposed to the last 7 years that lenders use. I think have the Experian app. What is the best way without going, checking with the lender to get your most accurate credit score?
Unfortunately, it's not free, but there are tools. Nothing in America is free, which really sucks. I kind of wish it was. This should be free. And there is, once a year, you get your free annual credit report. It's free for everyone. So please do use that. You get one for each bureau, but you can't wait once a year to see where you're at. There are different apps. Credit Karma is a great one to monitor moving forward, meaning if somebody applies for a credit card, you're going to get an alert right away saying, did you apply for this new credit card? That's helpful to monitor. Now, there is a website. You can all use it. There's a 7-day free trial. Cancel before the 7 days or they will charge you $25. Happened to me too. Got a refund though, But it's credit.com. Credit.com will give you your different credit scores for each product. Your auto loan credit scores, your mortgage FICO credit scores, your credit card credit scores, and just your generic credit scores. The premium one is $25, 7-day free trial. But again, Credit Karma is good to use. I use Credit Karma. It's on my favorites, of course. I have it. But I don't believe the 850 credit score it says I have. My lender, which is also Cross Country Mortgage because they're the best. My lender with Cross Country Mortgage out in Colorado, when she pulled my credit when I bought my house last year, she said I had a 720. And I was really upset because Credit Karma lied to me right on my face. It was not truthful. So just use it to monitor. But if you want to know your real mortgage FICO scores, you need to see a lender. See Yvette.
I,
Experian.com. So Experian.com gives you all three. I would do credit.com. I mean, Experian's a good one. But yeah, there's a fee. It's never free.
Daniela, thank you for your question, Nancy. Have you heard of the free one that we get from the IRS?
Is it the one through my annual free credit report?
Yeah, so it's annualcreditreport.com. That one will also give you 3 bureaus, and that one's free. You get it only once a year.
Mhm.
So there's no fee for that one, but it is once a year. You get a free copy every 12 months from every credit reporting company. And that's annualcreditreport.com.
Yes.
And just to add to that, we are now rolling out soft pulls for pre-approvals, so we don't have to actually do that hard inquiry until we're ready for closing. So that way it avoids, the hard inquiry early in case something happens or it takes a long time because of the shopping inventory so low that it expires after 90 to 120 days. So we're not running a full hard inquiry until we're ready in escrow and loan docs are ready to go. So that's a new thing we're rolling out. So only soft pulls, and we can go all the way up to approval for that. So it doesn't
And that's
affect clients.
And that's the best way.
Yeah.
Here's something that's happening. This is for my clients, and Yvette can actually talk about this too. But when Yvette pulls your credit as a soft pull, you should be so thankful, because here's what's happening in today's world. When you apply for a mortgage, when you apply for a car, when you apply for anything, the credit bureaus are selling your information. Today, I opened my mail and I had 10 different, it was like a bunch of solicitation. It's the bureau selling my information, and I'm so done with it. So when Yvette does a soft pull, nobody knows about it. And when she does the hard pull so she can close you, it's all good because she already found you a house, she got you the best rate, and you have keys on hand.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's
I
awesome.
have one additional question, if it's okay,
Go ahead.
regarding credit. My daughter has one credit card and it has a little over $3,000 on it. She has the money. She's paying 16% on it. She's trying to raise her score. She wants to raise it, but I'm just wondering how much it really raises. She's paid about half of it off. And I know that it's important not to close it out. She's had it for some time, so to keep it open. But is there a hard and fast rule? I hear the 30%, not to go over the 30%, but anything else you can add to give advice on that for that score to raise? And how much does it raise, if you know?
It depends. Because let's hypothetically speaking, say your daughter is 21, 23, she's in her 20s, and she really only has one credit card. Well, ideally, to have an 850, this is what you have to do to have an 850 credit score. You need to have at least 7 years of credit history. Remember that number lowers every time you open a new account. That's why it's so impossible to have 7 years plus. My mom had to add me on her credit card that she's had open for 30 years, and I'm still only at 4 years of credit history. So you need to have 7 years of credit history. You need to have at least an auto loan, a mortgage loan, a personal loan, and a credit card. Sounds like she only has one credit card. She's never going to get to a 850 unless she does all of this. That doesn't mean she needs to apply for an auto loan. That doesn't mean she needs to apply for a personal loan. It means that she just needs to start building more. Maybe not, maybe you have a credit card that you've actually, for a fact, you've never missed a payment on. You can add her as an authorized user. That can help her acquire more length of credit history, more on-time payments. But just keeping her credit card balances will have to do until the next step on her, life. Her next step could be to get an auto loan so she can transport herself from college to see her family. Her next step could be to buy a house. So depends on her needs, the different actions, but there isn't really much she can do. I'm not saying there isn't anything, just continue to pay her bills on time.
Perfect. Thank you.
Excellent question. Anyone else have a question or a scenario they want to give at all? I know that you're welcome to unmute, or if it's easier to go in the chat, go ahead. Daniela, before we close up, as people are thinking about their questions, can you share just your information about UQual and how it can help others and what that $49 does to help people get started?
Yeah, so UQual is a loan readiness program. My job is to partner up with Yvette, with MJ, with my referrals to get you guys into the mindset that it's needed to become financially free. My referrals, most of their needs will always be to refinance or buy a house, but that doesn't mean I can't help you if those aren't your goals. What UQual wants to help you understand is how to get from point A to point B, but understand what happened to point A, because you didn't wake up with a 500 credit score. We need to know what led you there. Well, you had a rough patch. So UQual helps you create a budget plan for your needs. UQual helps you surface any subscriptions that you may have that you didn't know about. My manager, he signed up just because he was like playing around with the system, and he signed up. He used to live in Miami, Florida. We live in Denver, Colorado. He's lived here for 5 years. He had a gym membership that he was paying for that he was not aware about because it was an auto pay. He doesn't check his bank statements. When was the last time, think you guys, when was the last time you reviewed your bank statement trade line by trade line? You'd be surprised to know. Yep. There are things that you pay that you don't know. He was also, so during the pandemic, he bought a Peloton. He sold it 3 months later because he didn't like it. Peloton has a membership. It's $39.99. He never canceled that Peloton membership. 2 years later, he was still paying on it. There was so much money that he found out he was spending on that he didn't know. UQual can do that for you. UQual gives you a simulator of what could happen to your credits if you do this, if you do that. UQual can help you, which is the most important thing, monitor your credits, but also challenge anything that's derogatory. Late payments, collection accounts, repossessions, bankruptcies. Just because you had a rough patch doesn't mean that has to stay there for 7-10 years. There's actually a federal law. It's called the Fair Credit Reporting Act. This is a federal law that states that everything on your credit report has to be 100% accurate, verifiable, and complete. So yes, I was short $5, $10 on my auto loan. Yes, I had an Allstate collection. Yes, it was me. I'm aware. But the credit bureaus cannot penalize me if they don't have my complete compliant information and if they don't respond within 30 days. So what we can help you do is we give you a platform to help you challenge the bureaus because you're innocent until proven guilty. If they don't have your name spelled correctly, I'm sorry, but that's not compliance. That's not complete. That's not accurate. They have to remove it. I got back my points. I have perfect credit, thank God, and thanks to UQual. But I got perfect credit because we were able to eliminate that information that made me not credit worthy. It's like they cleaned my mind, like, you know, they, what's it called, like hallucination, like they do with the clock, and they wipe off your memory.
Hypnotize.
Yes, they hypnotize the system, and nobody knows that I forgot to pay. Nobody knows I had a collection because they didn't have my complete compliant information. So UQual gives you the ability to monitor your credit and challenge those derogatory items to get them off your credit report so you can buy a house. And
Just
during
to add to you, sorry to interrupt you, but we have a couple minutes left. I actually did sign up with UQual to test it because I want to know what I'm going to offer my clients. So I also did it, and come to find out, Old Navy had a $20 balance on my account from a year ago that I thought the account was closed, but they transferred banks. So whoever was collecting it was a new bank. So that bank didn't get my auto draft because I have everything on auto draft. So I knew my balance was small, so it was going to be paid off in a month or two, but then the payment stopped. I assumed I have a zero balance, never checked it, don't go on there, haven't used it. It's been in collections. As soon as I got on UCall, it showed that, and I was like, what the heck? So I right away submitted the dispute. It took literally 2 seconds on UCall. And I checked on it yesterday or the day before, and I already have 2 of the credit reports are updated. The collection was removed, and I'm waiting for 1 more. So it's getting done. Like literally, it's been like less than 45 days.
Wow.
So yeah, it does work. So just from experience, I just tested it because I needed to know what I was going to offer clients so I can show them around the website or whatnot if they needed help. And it helped me out. So I'm continuing my membership.
And how many points
Bravo.
did you get?
You know, I haven't checked the score. I just talked to the guy yesterday and he was going over it with me and he was like, yeah, we have 2 so far, but we're still disputing the rest. And the lates are getting reduced as well and removed. So I haven't even checked my score, but I just know that it's working. So I'm like, okay, just keep going. Let me know when it's all done.
And it was you. It was you.
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
it happens, you guys, when we don't check it, we just assume and we never go back because it's just another thing to do. And Credit Karma, I have Credit Karma and that didn't tell me it was there. So it was so weird. Like I was like, how did I miss that? So it was definitely an eye opener. So just so you guys know, it does work.
There's a question being asked about Credit Karma and why, maybe a little more explanation about its inaccuracy. How inaccurate is that score?
Yeah, it's very inaccurate.
Wow.
I always tell my clients about 20 to 40 points minimum less.
Wow.
Yeah. And Experian's the same way. You know how you have the Experian app? It's the same way than the other ones, than the Credit Karma.
So your actual score is 20 points higher than what
40.
you see at Credit Karma?
No, lower.
Lower.
When you go to apply for a mortgage, at least, because the mortgage
Lower.
algorithm is a lot stronger. So compared to Credit Karma, which is for credit cards or personal loans, the algorithm is different. So usually it's about 20 to 40 points lower than what they expected or what they had, because they'll send me screenshots of what Credit Karma says this. I'm like, well, that says this.
So what is it that it's not showing? What is it that's it's missing? Is it missing something or is it just lying?
Well,
Both.
there's both. Yeah, sometimes both, because remember, Credit Karma only gives you 2 out of the 3 scores as well. And its algorithm is for credit cards, you know, for 20 to 40,000, maybe if at the max, if you have really good scores already. It's not talking about hundreds and millions of dollars as well for your scores. And correct me if I'm wrong, Danny, but there's like 13 different credit numbers that people use, and one's Advantage. I think it's for credit cards. I know for mortgages, we use number 3, 10, and 8, I believe. So it's different numbers that are different formulas, I guess. I don't know all the details.
Yeah.
I kind of know that there's like 13 different ones and Advantage is the main one that most credit card companies use to give you. You know how you go to your Chase Bank or Wells has, here's your FICO and here's Experian. Those are used by one report when there's 13 different reports.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is incredible, ladies. Just think about it, everyone. We are listening to people that professionally do this. This is what they study. This is what they do to help people. And we can't know everything. I'm a real estate broker. I wear the hat that I wear, and I pass on and respect those that wear their hat. And everybody needs to do that because we can't know everything. And this is just the start of learning more about your credit. We'll be following up with other classes so that you can get more in tune with how to understand your credit report, maybe reading your credit report and looking at your credit report. But if you have any other questions, we'll make sure to get our information out to you by the email that you send. And as well, if you have any needs where you want to look at talking about purchasing a home, obviously I'm here to support you. We are offering this incentive. We're really applaud you for being here. It says a lot about you wanting to do the right thing. So there's lots to learn. Your credit score matters and it actually is a big deal. So if you're just starting out or you need help correcting things, UQual can help you with correcting those things. If you want to look at it and start learning more about how to raise those scores, UQual and Yvette can help you. And when all that is said and done, together we can work with you to help you buy a home. Because that would, I would say, be the ultimate goal, right? So I'm loving all of this. And let's see, we've got in the chat here, there we go, a collection is a collection. Oh, she's answering a question. It hurts the scores regardless. Credit Karma doesn't care if they're below 100 or Medi-Cal. Yeah, there's so much to learn.
There's a lot to learn on collections too.
Wow. Wow.
Student loans, I mean, a lot of different things. So we do want to have continuous follow-ups, probably once a quarter. So please keep an eye out. We'll go ahead and send you guys the invites when that we have another class coming and what the topics will be. So if you guys want to come back, we, wish you could. And thank you everybody for spending an hour with us. I know it's an evening, so have a good night and we'll see you guys soon.
Thank you, everyone. We'll send you a nice follow-up email. Have a great night. God bless.
Thank you,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank
God
you,
bless.
Yvette.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Glad you were here.